You knew that would be the song, Sarah. Yeah, right?
Self-determination.
This has been one hell of a day, hasn't it been, Rich?
Oh,
Wow.
workout, man. I didn't get my workout.
I'll tell you what, we got a great guest here, and what a way to start it out. But the reason I'm going to show this here right now is this is why. Are you ready? Hold on. Right here.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
That sums it up, everybody.
Does that look familiar?
I love that. That was a great moment.
That is you. That is you. Woo!
That's me.
Wow.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. You know, when I see those pictures, I actually feel like I have an out-of-body experience. I'm like, that's me.
Wow.
You know, it's very cool.
No, and I want to thank you so much. I know we pulled this one off. So we can't thank you enough. And Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to the staffing shark, the main man, Mr. Richard Rosner.
Well, hello. As you can hear behind me, there's a train going by because we're live. I'm outside, but it's all good. It'll be going away soon. But Sarah, I just want to, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Just right now, I'm excited. She's definitely an IFBB pro. Dave, if you don't know what that is, look it up, man. You don't get your pro card just showing up at an event, man.
I know what it is.
You gotta earn it. But I tell you what, Sarah, we're just gonna deep dive into a little bit of what's going on in your career. Tell us a little bit how you started, how you got there, and where you're at today.
Yeah, so I got into the bodybuilding at the very beginning when I was in my teenage years. My dad actually was a bodybuilder. So growing up, he never made it to the IFBB Pro League, but he was in the amateur league and he was, you know, really into it. So we would go and watch the shows, and I actually was a gymnast growing up.
Nice.
And so as I got into my teen years, they started doing the teen fitness division in the NPC. So they had a division where young girls could come and you didn't have a physique round, you know, but you had your routine round. It was kind of like to get the next generation into the sport. So I got involved in that and I loved it. And then when I got into I did my first fitness show. I was 13 years old.
Wow.
13.
It was actually at the Pittsburgh show. If you're from, you're from Pittsburgh. So, you know, they had.
Did you do the NPC in May, the first week of May, right?
Yeah, it was the, back then they didn't have the pro portion of the show. It was just the Mr. Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, that was my first show. It was in 1999. And I loved it. And I fell in love with it after that. And so I continued to do, I was only 13. So I got into, later in when I was 17, 18, 19, around there, I was doing the NPC teen fitness stuff that they had going on at the time. And then I started competing in the women's open. So to put it into perspective, really if you're a gymnast or you're a dancer or something of that nature, when you're going up after around college age, you either, you might do it in college, but otherwise there's really not much you can do with it at that point. You're not going to do gymnastics forever. So this is a really good sport for anybody who's, looking for something to keep them active, to stay involved in, whatever art they were into, dance, gymnastics. You don't have to be a gymnast to do fitness, but it was just kind of a natural progression for me to be able to continue flipping around and, as an adult, start to have some fun with it. And so that's how I got into it first. And then also to put it into perspective, so I didn't get my pro card until 2014. So from 1999 to 2014, I was competing in the amateur league. I probably did 15 shows at least. I will tell you, when I started, I was that competitor that I was getting, last place every time. Last place, second to last place. But the key for me was just to never stop. You just never give up. That's the moral of the story, I think, is that, I decided I'm going to become an IFBB pro. it's not a matter of if I will, it's when, right?
Love them words. Yep.
And yeah, and so that was, I just kept plugging away and making the changes that the judges, you know, wanted to see from me. And then finally, yeah, in 2014, I won the nationals and got my pro card. And since then, I've been in 3 Olympias, 3 fitness Olympias, 3 Arnold Classics, and the Miss International for fitness. And I've done 21 pro shows altogether. And I've won 2 of them.
So what show is this? What picture is this at? If you could explain this one in 2019.
Yeah, so that was in September, this past September. That's the Mr. Olympia. That's the Fitness Olympia, which is like the Super Bowl of bodybuilding.
It's the championship, Dave. There's no bigger thing than this. If you're on the stage here, you're it. You know what I mean? This is it. I'm telling you, this is it. The elite.
Such a dedication, I can imagine.
I think one thing about fitness and bodybuilding in general, and like the dedication factor that you're talking about, I mean, so it's one thing to be dedicated, and you definitely need that, right? Like in anything that you do in life, you have to have that dedication. But also it's a lot of planning. You know, you have to make a plan, yes, be dedicated to it, but you have to follow through, right? So I always talk about accountability, and I don't think this just applies to fitness. This is career. This is anything in life, right? I just had this conversation this weekend, so it's funny that we're talking about this again, but accountability, right? So you can be dedicated to something and still maybe not succeed or not. That's just one component of success,
right.
I believe. So accountability for me, where I made the breakthrough and the change, you know, I was dedicated, I was committed, I was all of these things, but I wasn't holding, you know, those 10 to 12 years that I was pursuing the pro card and pursuing, you know, what I'm doing now. The missing piece was accountability. I wasn't holding myself accountable for, you know, if I would cheat on my diet, or if I would skip the gym, or I would choose to go out with my friends. You know, I was in college, instead of focusing on the goal, I wouldn't hold myself accountable for that. You know, I was still dedicated, right, to I wanted to be a fitness pro, and I was, you know, 90% of the time doing things that would support that end result. But when I would mess up or cheat or do something, I would say, oh, it's fine. You know, it'll be fine. Like I'll do extra cardio, or you know, you make up for it in some other way. And that doesn't work.
Nope.
Right. So where I made the change was, you have to learn to, you know, I explain it like this. If you tell me, so Richard, if you tell me, oh, this weekend we're going to go to this dinner, right? This, you know, anybody, right? You tell somebody this, they expect it then, right? And you need to follow through. And when you don't, and I'm sure you can both relate to this, people hold other people accountable for things. You know, people get so angry and ticked off at people for not following through on something they have said they were going to do, right? But we don't do that to ourselves most of the time. We let ourselves slide, you know, and that is what makes all the difference. Is you have to, and it's hard to do, because, you know, you're a little biased to yourself, I guess, in a way, right? It's sort of making excuses for not holding yourself accountable, but the key is to realize that is what's holding you back.
That says a lot, because it's just like it's the same concept of a career. There's no difference of what you're saying. What I like is, no matter what you're doing there's no difference than what we do or all the guests that we've been having. It's the same thing that you're saying. It's you know, you don't give up. You're held accountable. You have to complete the job. There's no difference. And that's what I like about this subject here, and what you do is it's relatable, you know. And
And you're so it's funny, because I actually, so I don't know, you don't probably know too much about me, but I actually have a full-time career that has nothing to do with fitness.
Right.
I work in pharmaceutical industry. I work on clinical trials for oncology research. So it's all investigational chemotherapy drugs. I'm a safety monitor, so I'm not into sales or anything like that. It's monitoring patient safety. And so it's a very demanding job. I travel a lot. I travel to different cancer centers. That's, all over the Northeast and the Southeast. I usually am traveling, because of COVID-19, we've been working remotely, but the majority of the time that I'm prepping for these shows, I'm traveling every single week for my job on the side. So that's another important point and that I want to make is that about planning. A lot of people always say, well, how do you do it? How do you do both? How do you?
Yeah.
And the key is you have to make a plan and you have to stick to it. Making a plan is great, but it does nothing if you don't follow through, which is the accountability.
That follows through. That's accountability. I'm sorry, but that is, I look at that and I'm like, how with work? And like you said, exactly. If somebody's doing 2 jobs, there's no difference there. If you're a hobby, I DJ, I love music. How do you do it? You work 7 days a week. Same thing. But this, I'm sorry, I have to show the picture because it's what it's about. It's what you do and how you just said to handle both.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, you have to make difficult choices sometimes, right? Like my favorite quote of all time is, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. And you might have heard that, but it's true. You're going to make very difficult decisions. Like if you have 2 jobs, right? Is that the storm?
We're live and I'm out in the rain, but I'm hanging in here. So it's all good. Keep on going.
Yeah. I mean, if you have 2 jobs, right? And you're working to make the ends meet but you have a family and, you're going to get crap from your wife or your significant other about not being home a lot or this or that. But there's sacrifices, the end goal sometimes requires a lot more sacrifice than you think it's going to when you start out on that journey. And it's important because over the years, I will say, like, I've lost a lot of friends. Oh. I've lost a lot of, you have to decide what's more important for you, and people that, maybe wanted to party or wanted to do things that really didn't support, maybe in the moment when I was 23, that is what I wanted to do. But you have to stop thinking about the instant gratification. Like, well, I want to do this now. And then 6 weeks later, when you're on stage in a tiny bikini and you're chunky.
Yep. You're water or something, right?
Sorry, that's not chunky.
Then you start to think back, I shouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And the only person that holds the power to make those decisions is you. So it's just, again, I think that the whole concept of dedication, commitment, accountability, sacrifice, it's such a, it's like a cyclical thing. They all play a part, even like in relationships. Like if you think these topics span so many different things, right? You can be committed in a relationship, but if you don't have the other things, that relationship still probably will fail.
Yep.
Now you just that's it.
Oh boy.
Oh no, that's it. She's watching. My wife is watching. That's it.
That's it.
Just made my night because now I'm going to hear this. I am going to hear this.
Oh my.
Thanks,
we're going to bring that in, Dave. That's why we're live all the time.
Hey, this is full transparency here.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
And what, Sarah? I'm going to chime in real quick. I don't know if you knew, but I did 2 bodybuilding shows in my past too. In '99, I did 2 of them. So I know what the self-will is of losing friends. I lost friends. I'm just like you. Almost everything you said again. Here we go. Every speaker I'm related to. It's like I prep my meals. If I ate a Pop-Tart at night, I would feel guilty the next day. And then I was like, if I'm going to get on stage, I remember my coach said, do you want to go in half or do you want to go in all full? If you just want a participation trophy, get up there and you'll get your 6th place and you'll put it on your with your bowling trophy and call it a day. Or do you want to win? And I never forgot that. And to this day, I watch what I eat. And I tell people, I said, people that are bodybuilders or in fitness, they have the core of what life is all about. They have that self-will that they can do anything, because that is one of the toughest things to do is your eating habit. Am I right?
Yeah. I think the diet, the eating is definitely the hardest component, especially for me. With having a job where I travel so much, it becomes difficult to, you have to prep all your food, take it with you. Because you really can't just in a pinch find some of the things that you're going to need to be eating. And it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have so many times where I might travel somewhere for work and my flight gets canceled or delayed and I'm stuck an extra night and I didn't make enough food. And now it's like, oh, but you have to make it work. And that's the no excuses part of all of this, where, it's easy to say, well, this was out of my control. My flight got canceled. So I'm just going to go have some cheesecake because, some wine and some cheesecake. It is what it is, kind of thing. But you don't have to do. You can find a way, right? You can Google where's the nearest Whole Foods. Go there, pick up grocery store, whatever. Get some healthy options. Take them to your hotel. I mean, there's ways to do it, and I've done it.
Oh.
I've done it. So it's again, it comes back to just your own accountability and. And I'm not saying trust me, I've had so many, no one's perfect, right? I've had times where, I fell off the wagon one day.
Oh, yeah.
And even with, if you're relating this to a working aspect of career, you fall off the wagon, you might get behind, right? It's the same in fitness. You might fall off a day and you think you're behind. But the key to that is, what do you do after? So after you make a mistake, after you mess up, whether at work, fitness, whatever it is, what do you do then? What do you do next, right? You can spiral in a downhill, well, I already ate 10 cookies yesterday.
Oh.
Today I'm just going to eat, get a burger and fries because that's already ruined. Same with work. You can say, well, I didn't get X, Y, and Z done yesterday, so I'm already behind. I'm just going to do, he's getting poured on.
I know, I'm looking.
And you know what? This is what Staffing Shark Week's all about.
Yeah.
I'm underneath an umbrella. Hope it can hold me up. But hey, look at it.
Sarah, I had a question for you, Sarah. With everything, we watch the news and, you talk about fitness and, how the gyms, everybody sees it, how you can't go, people setting up outside. How has it affected you? How does that affect, someone when you're talking this 2019, you got COVID. It's kind of the same working towards work. If somebody they've lost their job. You have to sacrifice. You're working at home. How do you cope with it?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, it's been difficult. I mean, I did the Arnold Classic in March, and we got that contest in just under the wire with COVID. It was like the weekend that everything started shutting down, but they did let us compete. So we got that one done. But immediately when I came back to New Jersey from that show, everything was closed. So what I actually been doing, I did buy a spinning bike for my house, right, so I can do cardio. And of course, now that the weather, now that it's been summer, being outside, obviously you can do so much. But from a lifting weights perspective, I haven't really lifted any weights. I have a few dumbbells and things, but it's nowhere near the training that I would be used to.
Right.
So I took the strategy as to just do what I can, instead of just doing nothing and saying, well, the gyms are closed, can't do anything. Oh, well, I do what I can.
Same way as work. That's what I'm saying. Yep. The same thing. Okay, you're a recruiter, you're staffing, we do what we do. You're at home. You got to think of something else because you're not in the office.
That's just it. You have to adapt. You have to pivot, right? You have to, and I think that this experience, honestly, with how everything has changed so drastically for everyone, I think that when things, whatever the new normal becomes or starts to become, I think it was a really probably great opportunity for people to, what happened is terrible, like all the sickness and everything. But I think the silver lining might be that people have really now understand maybe what's important, and maybe have some people maybe through losing a job that you had, right? Or now maybe it's giving you the time to find out what your passion truly is. And maybe now you've had this epiphany of something else that you want to do and pursue. And that actually happened to me. I started school again. I'm getting my master's. And so I decided, when I found out that a lot of the bodybuilding shows have been canceled anyway. There haven't really been any shows. There's going to be some in the fall. But back when this all started, I thought all the shows were being canceled left and right. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do now during this time? I want to use the time. Like, I don't want to waste the time. And so I always wanted to go back to school. I've been out. I got my bachelor's in 2008. So it's been a while since I've been in school. And I thought, you know what? This is the perfect time. So I'm in school. So we'll see. Actually, it's interesting because now I'm trying to figure out, okay, this is going to be interesting when I start to prep again. I have work and now I have school.
That's school. Well, wow.
I'm sure you can pull it off. If anybody can, you will.
That is. And for myself, I appreciate, you coming on for us with Richard. I'm going to let him finish it up here, but I'll tell you what, for anybody with determination, I'm sorry.
There it is right there. Look at that. Wow.
That's the hard work and the hard work. I don't know.
Determination right there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I think, Sarah, since you came on, I feel like we're in the log jammer again. Remember the log jammer, Kennywood?
I
feel like that. I'm getting splashed on. All week was perfect. I bring you on from Pittsburgh back in the day, and look what happens. It's the log jammer.
I know. I bring the storm, I guess, wherever I go.
But that's what I love about this show. I'm doing everything live outside. So, hey, the weather's not going to stop us either. We got one thing we're going to do at the end, Sarah. I don't know if you've seen it or not. We do 1, 2, 3, and then we go, shark.
That's
all right?
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Shark! All right. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, Sarah, thank you so much. We'll be in touch, and we'll definitely have you on the show sometime soon again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I wanted to end it with something. Hold on.
Hold on.
We got to end it with something. How can you not end it with this?
Yeah, thank you guys
it's
so much.
live with Sara Kovach. There she is, girl.
That's
2019. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon. And we are